and I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of my orchid adventures with me, Maria Young. Now, as you guys know, I am an orchid collector, an orchid grower, and I also sell some orchids as well. And because of this, I have traveled far and wide to get some pretty amazing orchids. I've been to orchid nurseries, I've been to orchid shows, I've been to orchid auctions, you name it, I've practically been there, and I've traveled the whole state of Florida, or at least it feels like that, and I just have an inkling that eventually I will. Some of the places that I have traveled to is Miami, Tampa, St. Pete, Lakeland, Bradenton, Fort Myers, and I know I'm leaving some places off the list, but indeed I have traveled up to 3 hours one way, so that's like 6 hours in one day to find these amazing orchids. So as you guys know, the mission never ends, and that is so true. But you know what? It is well worth it, because orchids are miraculous and they have transformed my life in so many ways. And I'm definitely going to share with you some of those stories of how they've changed, and sometimes I even like to say how they've saved my life, because that's how much they mean to me. So in this episode, we're going to be sharing with you some pretty amazing, phenomenal, killer orchids, and I have to tell you, some of them are even specimen sizes. I definitely want to share them with you to give you some ideas, and perhaps they may inspire you to get some more beautiful, phenomenal orchids in the future. As if you needed more inspiration, right? Well, let's go ahead and get it started now. Okay, so there's been a couple of you guys that have noted that I don't too often sell Vandaceous orchids on my eBay, and we're wondering why. Well, you guys know that I absolutely love Vandaceous orchids, but you guys have to understand also that they are such awkward sizes, and it is so difficult to try to find boxes that can accommodate them. So unfortunately, I do not sell that many Vandaceous orchids unless I do find that they are worth my while. But lo and behold, there is one particular Vanda that I did find was very, very worth my while. And here she is right now. Right there. Do you see her? She is absolutely fabulous. And this Vanda in particular is a Rinco Vanda Thailand crossed with a Vanda Tessellata crossed with a Vanda Mimi Palmer. And here she is in all of her glory. Check out those beautifully colored, tessellated, and very fragrant blooms right there, as if that wasn't enough. And as you guys can see here, she is quite a nice and big size. But if we take a closer look, you will find that she does have some keikis intermingled in there. And here's one of those keikis right here. How beautiful, very nice size keiki. And if we turn her around, this is the second keiki. And if we turn her over here, this is the third keiki. And they're all nice sized. Even though they're fairly small, they are still mature enough to bloom. As you can see with the first keiki, you are noting one spike and two spikes. So this has actually bloomed already twice. And here's yet another Vandaceous orchid. This is actually an Angraecum, Sesquipedale to be exact, also known as the Darwin's orchid, and also known as the Christmas orchid, because this does bloom in the colder winter months. So indeed, this is a spectacular find right here, and what makes this so spectacular is the fact that it is in bud. If we could take a closer look, there you have it. She is in spike and in bud, but what's even more fabulous is there is two. That's right, double your pleasure with this Angraecum right here. Two shoots of this plant, and both of them are also in spike. And to give you more of a description on the flowers on these actually bloom an alba color. You're going to see green and white and a very nice star-shaped bloom. And when this comes into maturity, of course, this is known to grow lots of keikis and also shoots. And once it is at a great mature size, very well established, you will find that this can bloom several spikes, giving such a phenomenal and very fragrant display. And one of the most interesting and amusing trait about the blossom is the fact that it does have a very, very long spur, also known as a nectarine, that will hang down very, very low, about like 12 inches. And because it is so long, it does require a symbiotic relationship with a particular insect, and in particular a nocturnal moth that has a sucker that is long enough to not only pollinate this orchid, but also receive the actual nectar from the flower. So very amusing indeed is the shape, and of course the story behind the Darwin's orchid. And up next, folks, are these phenomenal discoveries that I came across right here. I don't know if you can recognize these variety of orchids, but these are Paphiopedilums. And as you can see, they are very, very healthy. And if you are taking notice, you will also find that in the pot, there are many, many fans. So you can call them a pot full of Paphiopedilums. Now, usually when you are getting Paphiopedilums, you're going to find them at smaller sizes. These two right here were starter Paphiopedilums that I've had, I want to say about like 2 years now. So they've grown a bit, but as you can see, they are a lot smaller than the ones back here. And both of these are blooming sizes. They are previously bloomed, and usually you're going to get them with 1 fan, perhaps 2, or even 3 at the most. This right here in particular, you can see this was the previously bloomed Paphiopedilum, and this is the new one. So as you can see, this one is actually bigger than this one right here. So this one should come into bloom any time now. So it actually does not have to be that big to be able to come into bloom. And this is another one right here. And as you can see, that's the previously bloomed spike. So indeed, smaller sizes can bloom as well. And what also makes this orchid very popular is the fact that it comes in all sorts of colors, all sorts of patterns. You're going to find stripings, you're going to find spottings, you're going to find raised bumps throughout. You're also going to find hairs on the petals and also sometimes in the throat or lip area. Definitely some very visual interests right here that captivates the viewer and makes this orchid so very popular, and something that an orchid collector can really relish in. Many amusing features of this Paphiopedilums. It is quite endless, and it is that outrageous beauty that all of us, I think, really hope to find. But back to the phenomenal Paphiopedilums at hand. Definitely want to go over each one and talk a little bit about what makes each one of these so phenomenal. So we'll also get a closer look at each one, and let's go ahead and tell you what this one in particular is. This is a Paphiopedilum Macaulay Curtisii Maudier crossed with a Paphiopedilum Maudier Napa Valley, HCC, also AOS awarded, and this is also crossed with a sibling. And here we are, folks. Take a look at this. Did I not say a pot full of Paphiopedilums right here? This one in particular has 6 different growths in here. That's right, 6 fans within this pot, all very, very healthy and all of a size that is ready to bloom. So this right here may give us a phenomenal showcasing of those very distinctive and very bold Paphiopedilum blooms. And up next is a Paphiopedilum Eric Ming crossed with a Shadow Magic, also crossed with a Dahl's Kobold Lithia. And And here we have a very nice size Paphiopedilum. Again, another pot full of Paphiopedilums. This one right here actually has 5 growths. And as you can see, very, very nice size. And if you can tell, they are actually about to spill right out of this pot. Indeed, pot full of Paphiopedilums. Indeed, nice size. And again, all blooming size. How phenomenal is this? Just so amazing. And look at those beautiful patterns in the foliage. Very lovely as well. And the next one coming up is a Paphiopedilum Pinocchio crossed with a Henryanum. And here she is with her very elongated leaves right here. Quite lovely with the green and also that eggplant purple right there intermingled within the leaves as well. As you can see, a very nice size. Another pot full of Paphiopedilums with so many growths. This one right here has 6 nice size, very large growths. And again, all set to bloom. And I indeed saved the best for last. This is the Paphiopedilum Mulix macabre crossed with an incantation crossed with a callosum. And this one right here is yet another nice size Paphiopedilum. Again, many growths in here. I think there is 4 growths all together, but you can see how huge the growths are. Definitely ready to spike, I would say. And what makes this so tropically delicious, oh my gosh, you guys see how gorgeous the pattern is on the foliage. Let's take a closer look. Oh wow, look at that. Very, very beautiful, very nice colors on this, and definitely such a bold tropical color. And if this is not in spike or in bloom, it doesn't matter because the foliage is so beautiful. Just such an attraction, such a visual look right there all by itself. Definitely love this one right here. And there you have it, folks. That is my phenomenal Paphiopedilum find of the century. And now you can literally see why. And this orchid right here is a spectacular phenomenal orchid. This is the very popular Psychopsis Mendenhall Hildos FCC and also AOS awarded. And what makes this orchid so very spectacular is the fact that it is a sequential bloomer, blooming one orchid flower at a time and capable of blooming continuously for several years off of one single spike. And as you can see here, this orchid actually has 4 mature spikes capable of blooming, 2 in bloom and also 2 in bud. And as you are seeing here, this has so many growths, but if we take a closer look, you can actually see more spikes that are continuing to grow. And also more new growths. And they can be literally found throughout this plant. So by the time it's all said and done, this actually has about 3 more spikes coming. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 spikes. So lots and lots of growth, and look at here. Nice mottled leaves as well, but that's not the most spectacular part of this orchid. Let's take a look at what is. Oh me. Oh my. This, my friend, is the most spectacular part of the orchid. Now, many people do refer this orchid as the butterfly orchid or also the samurai warrior orchid. And although I do see somewhat of an insect quality to the orchid, I like to refer to this as the samurai warrior. And if we take a closer look, you will see that indeed he is ornamental in his uniform right here, that samurai uniform. And taking a close look, you can even see he is protected by his helmet right there. And looking to the back, you are also going to notice that his swords are tightly kept within his knapsack in the back, indeed emulating that very strong warrior appearance right here. The samurai warrior orchid, indeed, and bravo. This is a Psychopsis papilio fairtime crossed with self and is known to be a species orchid. And what really makes this orchid so phenomenal is the fact that it does have so many growths. And then, of course, look at all these new growths in here as well. And the new growths do not show their actual pseudobulbs yet because, again, they are new growths and they will eventually form at the base. Now, with the new growth comes the potential of course, finding some spikes. So you never know exactly what can happen with these, and because again this has an abundance of new growths, it does have that potential of giving a super duper spectacular display of all sorts of spikes and of course blooms. So this is a phenomenal orchid right here, and the buyer is going to be so excited, I know, because of all the new growths throughout the plant. And of course, even including the center of the plant. I mean, it's throughout. This has about 7 or 8 new growths in here. How exciting is that? This orchid right here is ginormous, folks. Ginormous. This actually stands at about almost 2 feet tall. That's how ginormous this orchid is. I was quite shocked to find out exactly what this was, because again, this is just so huge and so massive, with the bulbs just ginormous, just as big as the plant itself. It definitely matches its size of this orchid. So I want to tell you guys, this right here is a bulbophyllum. Believe it or not, folks. Believe it or not. This is a bulbophyllum sulawesii crossed with a bulbophyllum econolabium. And what I love most about this one in particular, this will actually bloom multiple spikes, and they are sequential blooming spikes. I think they'll bloom about 5 to 8 gorgeous blossoms, because the coloration is a nice combination with the orange and the yellows and then the red striations throughout. So indeed, quite a beautiful and unique star-shaped looking flower this one right here will bloom. And this right here is a Potinaria red crab times Tainan City General. Very huge, many pseudobulbs right there, and those gorgeous, stunning, very rich colored red blooms right there. And they are just so fragrant and blooming up to 3 big clusters of these beautiful blooms. Wowee, wowee. And that is an understatement. And here is one of the highly favored Phalaenopsis. This is actually a Bellina right here. Definitely well noted for its very fragrant Fruit Loop type of blooms, and also is a sequential bloomer. This is a Bellina Cruel's Blue Boy. And I just want to take a look at these gorgeous, humongous leaves. They are so huge. Can you see how huge these leaves are? Just quite amazing. Let me lift this plant up for you. Look at that. Indeed, quite a nice blooming fragrant orchid right here. So beautiful in coloration right here. You're seeing that alba green, also some whites, and a very deep magenta purplish color right there. So beautiful is this Bellina, and as beautifully fragrant as well. Indeed, this is one of my favorite Phalaenopsis species. And this one right here has a faded tag, but I'm going to try to read it the best way that I can. This is a BLC Mahina Jahiro Mashima. And these are very beautiful, very fragrant blooms. Again, blooming in a cluster of up to 3 blooms right here. Color on this is a pink lavender color with a very nice yellow. And if you look in there, there's also very nice striations of magenta or red in there as well. So definitely a very pretty cluster right here with all of the frills. Very frilly gal. And after she is done blooming, the blooming party does not end, because right here, folks, she has 2 more sheaths and they are producing their buds in there as well. So yes, indeed, this is quite a beautiful, fragrant bloomer right here. And up next is a specimen size of an orchid. This is an Oncidium Big Pink Margie Provau. And even though this is considered to be a miniature orchid, this has been grown for years and years and years and now has become a specimen. And again, you may look at this orchid that is growing in a 2-inch pot as a teeny weeny itsy bitsy little orchid, but I tell you, it is not. This is a Tolumnia variety actually, and this is considered to be a whopper of an orchid considering all of those growths. An abundance and a pot full of them right here. I mean, this would probably make a good 10 divisions out of here. Good size of 10 divisions of this orchid. I'm telling you, so many growths right here. And if we take a look, we are beginning to see the spikes that are coming up from this Tolumnia type of orchid. And indeed, we can take a look and we'll see them coming up throughout. And this is just starting. I mean, with all of these growths right here, you're gonna see spikes here, there, and everywhere on this specimen size of an orchid. And the very next orchid that we have in bloom is a BLC Pink Empress Juicin AM AOS awarded. Now this bloom right here has sadly faded, but indeed I wanted to show you exactly how deep the magenta pink is in this blossom. And fortunate for us, we have yet another one that is just coming into bloom right here. It is just opening up, so it is not opened up all the way. This is actually a very huge blooming flower right here. It will extend out about 5 inches in diameter, and this is not only very beautiful but also very, very fragrant as well. But the blooming party does not end there, folks, because if we take a look on the other side, oh me, oh my, we have yet 2 more that are just beginning to open as well. So indeed, this is quite a spectacular and very prolific bloomer as well. Just gorgeous and also mesmerizing fragrance on this one. The next breathtaking orchid is an LC Pure Soul Yutaka Maramoto, and I have to tell you, she completely and totally takes my breath away. And this indeed is a humunga dunga wunga of an orchid right here. But can you see what makes her so doggone amazing? Can you see it, folks? Okay, do you see it now? How about now? Or maybe even now. I mean, if we take a look throughout this plant, you are seeing so many sheaths. But not only just sheaths, you are also seeing 2 buds forming in each sheath. So this means that by the time this is completely done blooming, we're going to have about 18 blooms on this humunga dunga wunga of a Cattleya. That's right, so fabulous. And this orchid actually blooms good size blooms as well, so you are just going to see this cluttered and carpeted with a very white pristine bloom that has a very nice elegant marking on the tongue as well in a nice rich magenta color. So indeed, this is going to be such a spectacular bloomer. And there you have it, folks. That is a complete orchid wrap. Now let me know what you guys think. Which ones did you like the best? Which ones you have, or even which ones you want to get. And you're gonna let me know by posting those comments below. Also, I am hoping that this video has inspired you to continue to explore the miraculous, wonderful world of orchids. I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of My Orchid Adventures. And of course, if you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stay tuned to the latest and greatest orchid adventures, please be sure to subscribe. Also, I am on Facebook, and you can join me there at My Orchid Adventures on Facebook. And if you guys want to write me or send me something, you can do that at the following address right there below. Also, you guys also know that I am on eBay. So if you guys are looking for some amazing orchids, of course, check me out there as well. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And you guys already know I do love you guys all. Mwah!